All right, hey Shane, another really, all of a sudden this game's got a hell of a lot on the line. Let's kick it on down to Fayetteville, where Arkansas is going to be hosting Mississippi State. And red hot Mississippi State. Hell, we just said number 17 in the college football playoff rankings. And don't forget Arkansas. They were number 8 in the country just a couple weeks ago before they had to travel to number 1 Georgia. Good news for the Razorbacks, Shane. They're getting right tackle Dalton Wagner back. He had surgery on his finger a couple weeks ago, so this is his first game back. But here's something that's on my mind, Shane, because, hey, you and I, we have been singing the praises of KJ Jefferson all season long, and I'm not sitting here saying he's a bad player by any means, because he almost willed them the victory. If you remember in that Ole Miss game, I mean, he was sacrificing his body. He was throwing it all over the yard, running it. But against Ole Miss, Shane, and against Auburn, there are 2 losses here in the SEC last 2 games.
Yeah.
He's thrown the ball 35 times in each of them. And now his previous high is 23, and he's had 38 rushes combined in those 2 games as well. And I think that's key to this game, Shane, because you cannot, the way Mississippi State is playing right now, we just saw Will Rogers, he's SEC Offensive Player of the Week, just broke the record, 92% completion percentage. You cannot ask KJ Jefferson to get in a dueling match with Will Rogers right now just throwing the ball. I think that is going to be a recipe for disaster. I think if you're Arkansas, you got to get into this game and you've got to take the air out of the ball, even though Mississippi State, number 3 in the SEC in stopping the run, they just shut down Kentucky, and we know Kentucky's built for the running game. They're built through the O-line. That being said, Shane, I mean, I think the only way you're going to win this game if you're Arkansas is that crowd, take the air out of the ball, pound that rock, and you can't ask KJ Jefferson to win you the game through the air. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that is a big factor, but I think scheduling is the biggest factor here. Nobody's talking about Arkansas because did they play last week, Mike?
Nope.
No. Did they really even play the week before against our buddies Arkansas Peanut Butter? No. These guys have had multiple weeks off. I mean, you want to talk about an extreme advantage. Think about that. It's almost 2 bye weeks that they have coming into this to game plan for Mississippi State. I guarantee you last Saturday, all these boys were watching that Kentucky game. So I think that's the biggest advantage here for Arkansas. It's just they finally got some rest, because if you remember after that A&M game, they were banged up, especially going into Georgia. That team was given every. I mean, they were hurting, man, and I think it showed up the following week when they were going against Ole Miss and when they had to go toe and toe with Lane Kiffin. And let's not forget, they almost won the damn game, Mike. They almost beat a top 20 team. So that's where I'm at with Arkansas. Is, you can look at the 3 losses and say, oh, well, Arkansas is not as good as we thought they are. Man, they are. And they've got some rest and coming in here. I think that's the biggest thing is you had Mississippi State going toe-to-toe with Kentucky last week. Did they win the game? Absolutely. But it wasn't an off game. Those guys had to put in everything they had. And I just think that's the advantage is that Arkansas has so much rest coming into this thing. And they've had multiple weeks to plan for this game alone.
Yeah, and just looking at the schedule, Shane, it just shows why this game is so important for the Razorbacks. They get Mississippi State at home, and then they go to LSU. Obviously, that's a tough environment, but LSU is kind of crumbling, and they'll be coming off that Alabama game. They got a trip to Alabama. That's going to be tough as hell, but then they come back home from Missouri. I mean, if you play up to your capabilities and you're the Arkansas Razorbacks, you're looking at an 8-4 type season.
Yeah,
I think that's all in front of you. I mean, that is a realistic opportunity, but you got to seize the moment. And one key there, Shane, when I talk about getting to the ground game and something Sam Pittman talks about here, we got to get Dominique Johnson the ball more. He's their big physical running back. He's averaging 8 yards per carry, Shane, on 39 carries, but that's only 4th on the team in number of touches. So I think you got to feed the beast and just rely on KJ Jefferson and this. Hell, Arkansas goes 3 or 4 deep on the running back. I think you got to rely on these guys to get you there.
Wagner. or any of the others you expect to be back this week?
Yeah, I think Dalton will be back. He practiced yesterday and did the walkthroughs last week. I expect him to be back.
Offensively in a game like this, is the ball control and your run game like maybe even more imperative to try to keep them on the sidelines? And how do you
Well, I think it's what we do. You know, we're a running football team, so certainly we're trying to find ways to have success there. You have to win first down against this team, however you're trying to do it. You know, I've already spoke about staying out of third and long because they're very, very good at their blitz schematics and their personnel. And so you have to win first down, stay out of third and long, and however that is, obviously, you know, whether it's run or pass. Obviously, we're a run football team first, and we're going to try to establish that.
Yes, several times this year you're talking about Dominic Johnson not getting the ball enough. Maybe
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, maybe just starting him and going with him, or is he just that much more effective, you know, coming in after, you know, off the bench?
He needs more carries. So, you know, you coming to practice today? So, I mean, he needs more carries. That's how it is. So, if that's starting him to get the more carries, then that's what we're going to do. But he got to get more carries. I mean, he's a guy that running over people, making people miss, and he needs to get more carries. So, whatever that is, he needs a lot more carries. And I thought we had that figured out, but we didn't. And so I'm positive we got it figured out.
I know you're talking about making this run and you take one game at a time during the run, but you know, these 4 games, all conference, 2 home, 2 road, just how big is it in terms of where you want to get to these last 4?
It's big because of how we started the season. I mean, it's big. It would be big anytime, but you don't want to go 4-0 and ranked 8th in the country and then let it all slide away from you, you know, and I don't feel like it will if we can win X number of games. I don't want to get into that, but yeah, I mean, we won 1 conference game. We need to win some conference football games, and we need to start this run. And like you say, they're one at a time, but this would get us bowl eligible. That'd be a big thing for us, and so that's another key to it as well. But I mean, we want to finish the season as good as we possibly can, and I think we will. I mean, we're back healthy and things of that nature, but also the teams that you play are pretty good, you know, and we know that. So it was a big challenge, but we're looking forward to it. 2 of the 4 at home, and it'd be good to get back in the stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. And on the flip side, I think Mississippi State just got to keep doing what they do and playing great defense. That defense is what won the game last week. You know, I mean, just
Right.
A lot of people talk about, and we're going to get to the Tennessee-Kentucky game here in a minute, but a lot of people are talking about Will Levis and all that. I'm talking game of inches, and it was the effort that a lot of them defensive backs put in to make that game a victory. And I think that's what they got to continue to do. That's what Mississippi State is. They are a tenacious, they are a bend not break defense and do just enough so Will Rogers can keep the points coming. So I think that's what they do. The recipe's out for those guys. They just got to continue to keep playing the Pirate ball, and if they do that, they're going to win this game. If Arkansas just lets them get ahead, that's one thing that they showed us. We can't do a shootout. Okay, Mississippi State's going to want that, but you're just not going to be able to do that because Mississippi State's got a tough defense, man.
Yeah, and I think Mike Leach and his offense is going to come in with this one, Shane, thinking about last year. If you recall, of course, they beat the hell out of LSU in the opener. They were high flying. Everybody was patting them on the back. And then the second game of the season, Barry Odom came with a great game plan that everybody since has used against Mississippi State and kind of exposed them. So how does Mike Leach and Will Rogers adjust? I mean, that is going to be fascinating to see. I think this has got to be one that Mike Leach really, really wants to show that, because he got outcoached last season. There's no way to say it other than that.
Mm-hmm. Well, did they announce who's reffing this game yet? Both these teams have gotten screwed in the past. So.
Coach, looking ahead at Arkansas, last year's game, I know it's very frustrating for you. Is there anything you can take from how Barry Odom and those guys kind of defended you last year? Do you see any carryover this year?
Well, I think they'll do some similar things. I think that, I think they'll mix it up a little more. I don't think they'll be 100% comfortable bringing 3 every time. I think they'll probably be a little more aggressive. They don't really like to blitz, though.
When you go back and watch the film of last year's game, and what kind of stands out to you? I mean, what kind of went wrong in that ball game from your recollection?
No, we never got in a rhythm at all. We never got in a rhythm. Their 3 could whip our 5. We sometimes had stuff underneath. Our eyes weren't in the right place. We didn't put the ball in what they gave us, and then we got frustrated, and then it became a series of overcorrections.
Mike, a few years ago, an Arkansas fan had started a petition that had like 1,000+ signatures about Arkansas hiring you as their head coach. From your experience coaching or even your law background, does a petition like that ever have any type of pull to affect an athletic department?
I don't know. Athletic departments can be quite political. Schools in general. I don't know. You'd have to really ask any of them. But the idea is not just, we get to run it, we're going to run it all the time. I mean, there's a point where you have to make choices what you're going to do and how you're going to move the football. But it is funny to see, because at some point in time, somebody's bitching about something. They either want you to throw it more or run it more. I've actually thought about running it virtually 100% of the time one game, throwing it 100% the next game. With my luck, some punter dropped the damn ball so it'd count as a rush. And then brag about how balanced we are. Tell everybody how we're balanced. Nothing balanced about that. Balance has to do with production by position.